can't fold and you can't bend. Y'all be playing it safe and I be going for the win. Remember back when they was doubting on the kid. Now they tuned in cause my game too legit.
Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle here with the Fantasy Headliners. It's another mock draft Monday, and this was quite possibly my worst draft ever. Now, listen, when I decided to do this video this week, my whole goal was a zero running back strategy. But even the strategy that I was going to implement was completely blown out of the water when tons of running backs went in the first 3 rounds, and I was going to be absolutely screwed and had to completely change what I was doing. This draft is not going to be good. So if you are watching this draft right now, watch this draft as something not to do instead of something to do. But hey, that's part of mock drafting, to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to understand where you could have changed things. And in this video, I did go through that and talked really a lot about what I could have done differently as I went through it and where I screwed up at. So I'm not looking for any grades in this draft. I give myself an F, 100%. You don't got to tell me. I'm telling myself, and I'm telling all of you. This Mock Draft Monday is all about my worst draft ever and what you shouldn't do come draft day. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're drafting. First pick's off the board. Second pick is off the board. Both Dalvin Cook and Saquon Barkley. Both of those guys, they're gone. Christian McCaffrey. I say Saquon Barkley. I mean Christian McCaffrey. Dalvin Cook. Both of those guys off the boards. Let me move this over here. Hopefully that's better for you. Yeah, okay, now you can see that popping up there. Who else do we have off the board? Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb. All these guys going off the board right away. And like I mentioned, this video is going to be all about zero running back strategy, right? When you mock draft, you really got to talk about, you got to go through different scenarios. You got to do different things. I mean, that's the only way that you really learn, you know, who you can get where, how does it affect your strategy, what comes out of different strategies and things of that nature. So for me personally, I like to mock draft by doing things that I would probably never really do in a real draft, because if things go crazy in a real draft and you're like, oh crap, like this is gone, like this guy's gone, or I was anticipating this, or whatever it may be, now you get a chance to say, okay, this is what I would do. And you get to practice a little bit so you know where guys are going to go and you're not caught off guard on draft day. So that's what we're doing today. I am not a zero running back guy. Give me as many running backs as I can possibly get, and let's go from there. So we're going to go as many wide receivers as we possibly can. I'm going to go with Tyreek Hill at this point, because I just have absolutely no idea. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to play, in my opinion. I don't think I don't think him not playing is going to happen. But unfortunately, we got to prepare for it. So I'm going to go Tyreek Hill here. I'm going to go Tyreek Hill. We're just going to be safe with it. Look at all that blue. Look at all those running backs. Wow. Okay. We got to bring this board down just a little bit so you guys can see all the way. There we go. Now we can see. Let's see here. The chat, you can't see the chat, but the chat's already asking, is Kyle going zero running back? Like, for them to see me go with a wide receiver here, completely catching them off guard. They have absolutely no idea what's doing. They have no idea what to do. So here's the thing. I was going to go with Travis Kelce next. I was going to go Travis Kelce with my next pick, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Probably won't go Darren Waller, but in a zero running back strategy, you're definitely going to be going tight end early. Now, if you want Travis Kelce, you're going to have to spend a first-round pick this year. There's just no way around that. His ADP is sitting at the end of the first round right now. His ADP is going to probably fall in between that like 6 to 12 range by the time this is all said and done. People want to get their tight end and get it done and get it early this year. I don't know if I want to spend a first-round pick on Travis Kelce. I mean, love Travis Kelce. Nothing against anybody that does. For me personally, I'm kind of thinking TJ Hawkinson. I've talked about him already in a video. I've talked about him in a mock draft. I'm thinking TJ Hawkinson is the guy that I really want for value at his position. In this round, I mean, I'm probably going to be shooting for him in the 4th round in this video if I can get him there. But let's see. So Aaron Jones, I mean, all blue really to begin, right? And that's the way a lot of drafts are going to be this year. Unless you play in a super flex, unless you play in a 2 QB league, you're going to see running back going in the 1st round. Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, probably going to be the first 3 that you see go off the board. Nick Chubb, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor will kind of be in that area. Saquon Barkley, I think it really depends on the league going back and forth. I think you'll see him either taken really early in the 1st or late in the 1st, depending on people if they are interested in dealing with the injuries this year. Back to me again, we've got Hopkins, Metcalf, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown. For me, right here, even though I love Calvin Ridley this year, absolutely love what he brings to the table, going to be getting a ton of looks this year, we're going to go with DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, we saw it last year. The dude goes to a new team with a new quarterback and absolutely balls out. Is just absolutely amazing. So locking down DeAndre Hopkins and Tyreek Hill is 2 just absolutely monsters. Monsters at the position. Let's go with it. And again, with a 0 running back strategy, you're not going to go like 1 running back in the first 5 picks. You're literally going to be waiting until probably the 5th and 6th round to take a running back. That is what a true 0 running back strategy is. And again, that's what this is. What is the draft going to look like if you decide to skip on running backs in the early rounds? So we're not going to be taking a running back for probably our next 2 picks. So just keep that in mind. Now, because this is wide receiver, and not 3 wide receivers to start, I'm probably not going to go with another wide receiver right away. I'll probably go tight end and quarterback next. And then we'll start looking at running backs after that. So coming up after that, CEH. So PZ starts with Zeke and CEH. I think that's a fabulous start for running backs there. Happy Galladay, Austin Eckler, and Calvin Ridley is a really, really good start. Waddleberger going with Jonathan Taylor and DK Metcalf. That's definitely a lot of high upside play for me. Both of those guys could have some lower floors certain weeks. Like if Indy's getting blown out in a certain week, Jonathan Taylor is probably going to be a little bit game scripted. You're going to see more Nyheim Hines. So a lot of upside, but I think the floor might be a little bit on the lower side in some weeks with those guys. A little bit boom or bust potential. Pool Party Poppy starts with Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon. Not loving Joe Mixon's ADP being in the 2nd round right now. I would really rather have it fall to the 3rd round. So we'll see where that kind of holds up and if it starts to fall back at all. Say maybe to Rojo. Austin going with Derrick Henry and then A.J. Brown. So that's an interesting start to it because you're stacking 2 Tennessee players there. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll see if he ends up going Ryan Tannehill for his quarterback at any point in time, if he's really trying to stack this Tennessee offense. Sleeper Snatcher 19, Dalvin Cook, George Kittle. Darren Waller going to upside there. We're right back to the turn. So 3 tight ends in the first 2 rounds. Not that surprising. I thought maybe Waller would get into the 3rd, but not surprised if he goes in the 2nd. So again, that's why, my target really this year being TJ Hawkinson is really, really important, like in that 4th round area. So we'll see what comes back to us here in the 3rd round. And we'll talk about how the wide receiver situation looks as we get further into the draft, especially with this next pick that I have coming up here. Most dope going with Nick Chubb and Najee Harris to start. I don't mind that. The one thing you're going to be getting right there is you're going to get a couple of guys on the ground who are just going to be absolutely banging the football over and over and over and over, and that's great. So he's going to have a guy who's going to be he's going to have 2 guys right there that are going to have a ton of carries. Maybe weekly ceiling is a little bit lower, but not bad enough where, you got to be worried about drafting those 2 guys. Again, the ceiling for Najee Harris being lower is due to the offensive line. The offensive line is just absolutely garbage. The offensive line is not going to be good this year in Pittsburgh, unfortunately. Sleeper Snatcher, he goes with Justin Jefferson, so a very balanced approach for him. Patrick Mahomes going there in the 3rd round to start. Same maybe to Rojo. He comes back with J.K. Dobbins in the 3rd round. J.K. Dobbins in the 3rd round I'm liking. David Montgomery in the 3rd round I'm liking. Most dope going with 3 running backs to get things started. And that's why if you go with a 0 running back approach, you're going to be looking at a team that is going to be very, very thin on running backs. You know, the hope is that we see so many running backs coming off the board right now that it'll save some for us here coming up soon. But there's also been some guys who have been very balanced as well. Upside's going to need another running back. Sleeper's going to need another running back. TJ's going to need another one. Anger management's going to need another one. So these guys who only have 1 running back right now that have stayed balanced, that's gonna hurt, because if we skip on the 4th and 5th round, which again, we're going 0 running back, okay? I don't want to take one right now. And it's not because I don't want to, but because I want to show you exactly how it looks if you wait on running backs. There's a lot of people out there that I still see on a constant basis saying, oh, I'm not taking a running back right. I don't like taking running backs early. I want to do this. I want to take best player available. I just want everyone to see what your team is going to potentially look like if you skip out on running backs in your draft. Happy Galladay, Eckler, Ridley, Sanders. Not a bad start. Peasy start right now. Absolutely loving it. Zeke, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, then Allen Robinson. And there's guys, I mean, Michael Thomas is still showing here, but look I go 2 wide receivers to start, but Terry McLaurin, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, still a ton of these guys sitting here that you can take, right? There's so many of them. I'm going to go ahead and go with my quarterback here. Again, this is far earlier than I would ever want to go with a quarterback, but I'm going to go ahead and stack my wide receiver 2, DeAndre Hopkins, with Kyler Murray. And again, it's because I believe that there is a potential that Kyler Murray disappears off the board before TJ Hawkinson does. And as we go back into the 4th round, because so many running backs have gone already, I do think I need to just keep an eye on what the running back situation is as it comes back to me. Because some of these guys are going to start to go start to go really quickly here soon. So if TJ, you're not the guy, Forbes, and anger management, if any of them decide that they're going to want to go running back here, I'm going to be forced to take one in the 4th round, or my team is going to look like garbage. I mean, that's just all there is to it. So yeah, Mike Davis goes there. Mike Davis was going to be one of my targets in this draft. He's not going to fall to me. So we'll see if Myles Gaskin, DeAndre Swift, if any of those guys. But if you're going to go with a 0 running back strategy, okay, or if you're going to go heavy wide receiver to start, or if you're going to use a 1st round pick on Travis Kelce, whatever it may be, if you're going to do things like this, and there goes TJ Hawkinson. I should have went with TJ Hawkinson first. It didn't happen. Anger management goes with him there. Nice draft pick. I love that spot there for him. Was hoping he would make it back to me. But this is what happens. I mean, plans get blown up. We're going to have to go running back here. And we're going to go, hopefully, if TJ doesn't take him, Myles Gaskin. But I got a feeling that TJ is going to take Myles Gaskin here. Just wait a second. Watch it happen. Come on, TJ. Make your pick. I know what you're going to do. Okay? But anyway, so if you're going running back heavy, or if you're not going running back heavy, if you're going wild, there it is. There it is. See, so basically at this point, because I haven't used a pick on a running back in my first 3 picks, even if I would have went TJ Hawkinson instead of Kyler Murray, I'm basically kind of screwed at this point. The one person I can go right now, Darrell Henderson. Darrell Henderson. I'm going to grab Darrell Henderson right now. But that's not going to be any good. I mean, this team is not going to be a team that I look at the end of the video and say, great team, Kyle. No, this is not going to be a very good team, unfortunately, because I've waited on running back. All right. But your targets, kind of back to what I was trying to go to before it got back to me. Target-wise, if you're looking at skipping over running backs to start, if you think that you're not going to take a running back in your first 3 picks, then there are a few guys who are kind of going to be your targets there. Myles Gaskin and Mike Davis are the 2 for me. Those are the 2 guys that I want to try and grab 3rd or 4th round if you're really not going to use a pick on your first couple of picks on a running back. Myles Gaskin and Mike Davis. DeAndre Swift is another one, and so is Darrell Henderson. With DeAndre Swift, the one thing that he's going to lose touches on the ground to Jamal Williams. It's not going to be, I mean, Jamal Williams isn't going to get 250 carries. He could get 200, though, which could limit DeAndre Swift to around 200. But it's in the passing game that I think DeAndre Swift could really end up making an impact this year. And I'm becoming a little bit warmer to the fact that Swift is going to be better this year than what I had originally expected, especially with that offensive line. But a lot of it is going to go back to how much touches or how many touches that Jamal Williams gets. So that's just something to keep an eye on. So now plans kind of got blown up, right? Plans kind of got blown up. The targets were Mike Davis, Myles Gaskin for me in a zero running back strategy. They did not end up lasting. And I can even see in the chat right now, the chat already knew what was going on with me. I didn't tell them that I was going to go with a zero running back video in this. But as soon as they saw me go wide receiver, they knew what was happening. And there's a couple of them that were like, oh, we're taking running backs right now because we know what he's trying to do. So they tried to spoil it on purpose, which is great. I love it. So anger management, Aaron Jones, Devontae Adams, Kareem Hunt, TJ Hawkinson. I don't mind it. I would have, instead of Kareem Hunt here, though, Henderson, Gaskin, Swift, that's what I would have went instead of Hunt, and then I would have went Hawkinson. If anger management have done that, I would be loving that team right now. Don't love the Kareem Hunt pick, but other than that, a pretty decent start. TJ's off to a really, really good start. Barkley, lots of upside there. And then you get Mike Davis and Myles Gaskin right here. I love it. I love these two picks. You got your upside wide receiver one and Stephon Diggs. Great, great start to the draft for him. Peasy here. Another great start. I already said I'd liked Zeke and CEH, and now you get Allen Robinson and Mike Evans. Another great start by Peasy here. Happy Galladay. I almost said Happy Gilmore. Maybe I need to go inside and watch it. You know, Eckler, Ridley, Sanders, McLaurin. I like the start other than Miles Sanders. Again, I would have rather have seen DeAndre Swift or Myles Gaskin or Mike Davis or Darrell Henderson. I would have rather have seen those guys go there. Obviously, with Cam Akers being off the board now, Darrell Henderson, as of right now, is the running back one in LA. We'll see what happens. That obviously could change. But I did a video way earlier in the offseason. I guess it wasn't that much earlier, but a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, on tough draft day or breakout or bust. It was a breakout or bust video talking about Cam Akers. And I tried to show everybody the stats that in the advanced analytics from last season, Darrell Henderson was literally right there with Cam Akers. He was beating him in quite a few, and he was just under him in a few others. Those two guys were like completely across the board. Darrell Henderson kept up, if not outperformed Cam Akers in a lot of those scenarios last year. So he's a guy that absolutely can work. I mean, they spent a third round. They only picked Henderson's 17 picks after Cam Akers in the draft. Not the same draft, obviously, but pick-wise, where they landed, you know, Akers only went 17 spots before Henderson did. So he still has kind of the same draft capital at that point. Let's see. So Pool Party Poppy going with Kyle Pitts here. So again, that's really leaving me thin at tight end now too. I'm not loving the tight end situation. Kyle Pitts was going to be my guy coming back. Now Mark Andrews goes off the board as well. I mentioned this on Twitter today, and I'm going to be doing a video on it coming up soon. You don't need to worry about it right now. Just keep it in mind. Noah Fant is a more expensive Evan Engram this year, and I will talk about that at another point in time. So Noah Fant is just as expensive Evan Engram this year, or more expensive Evan Engram this year. So for me now, as it comes back to me, you know, Robert Tonyan is probably the guy that I would want to go here. Not going to go with Noah Fant. Dallas Goedert, hearing the news that Zach Ertz is going to be with Philly this year more than likely. Dallas Goedert is really hurt now in terms of value. So I'm probably going to just go ahead and wait on tight end at this point. Let's go ahead and go back to running back. I didn't really want to go with another running back right now. We'll probably wait a little bit longer. This is a tough one because there's not a tight end I want. I really have to go wide receiver or running back now. We can go Michael Carter. James Conner is here as well. It's a little early for James Conner. I'm going to go ahead and go with Trey Sermon here over. Actually, no, I'm going to go ahead and go back to James Conner. I'm going to go James Conner instead right here. 5th round is a little early for him. I'd rather have him in maybe the 7th round. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not going to happen in this draft. So we gotta back it up here and make sure that we get a guy that we're comfortable with as an RB2. James Conner, I like the potential. I mean, Chase Edmonds is not going to be a guy that's going to come out and just get all of a sudden 300 touches in a season. James Conner and Chase Edmonds are going to split touches. Chase Edmonds is a good running back. Is a good running back when it comes to like his role that he's been in, right? That is where he has been good. We don't need him doing anything else at this point. Probably going to have to go with another running back here. I was going to wait longer on running back, but quite honestly, I couldn't. There's so many running backs that have come off the board at this point. I was going to do a 0 running back strategy, and I can't. I can't do it because I'm losing guys. So I end up having to go with a guy in the 4th round and the 5th round because I waited so long. And again, this is why we preach running back early so often to everybody, because you got to be able to get your guys early on. Even if it's just a really balanced approach, you got to go with a balanced approach to make sure that you do. Like Ronald Jones, I'd like to go with Ronald Jones here, or James Robinson, or Javonte Williams, or Melvin Gordon, but all of these guys are going to be in just straight timeshares at this point. I mean, Melvin Gordon is going to be a guy that's going to be a little bit better at the start of the season. So I think I'm going to go Melvin Gordon here because he's going to be playing over Javonte Williams to start. Now, Williams is probably going to take touches as the year goes on, but if I go Melvin Gordon here and it gets back to me and I can get Javonte Williams, then I've done a pretty good job at that point, at least making sure that I have the guys. So, again, there's not really a whole lot of guys right here because I don't like drafting this way. So I'm sitting here going, this is not what I would do. Like, I wouldn't take these guys. I'd rather be taking wide receivers right now. Like, think about the wide receivers: Deontay Johnson, Brandon Ayuk, Odell Beckham Jr., Chase Claypool, Juju, who I love this year, is sitting right here as well. Will Fuller, if you want to take the risk on him. Deebo Samuel. All these guys are. Devontae Smith is coming up. All these guys are here right now that you can grab. Curtis Samuel. There's nobody at running back. I mean, who is there at running back? All those guys that I just listed can give you wide receiver 2 upside, right? Yeah, they could. They can really help out as a wide receiver 2. There's guys right now that if you're watching this, James Conner and Melvin Gordon, going, you really want them as your running back 2? That's why I'm going running back early, ladies and gentlemen. That's why I'm not going back-to-back wide receiver here. And where Kyler Murray went, again, I was just trying to show you, like, the later you wait to draft, should have gone T.J. Hockenson here, should have gone with a running back here, but I didn't, to show you guys. And look at what it's done to me. I mean, if this was a real draft, I'd be screwed, right? If this is a real draft, I'm giving the win away to somebody. This isn't going to be a very good team. I'm telling you that right now. So anybody that comments below and says, "Oh my God, your team's awful," I already know, bro. You don't got to tell me. This isn't how I'm drafting. So anyway, let's see what everybody else is doing here. With upside, I mean, I'm liking the start. I would have much rather have went, with a potential running back here, because he's not really going to have a running back 2, kind of like me, but it's going to look even worse potentially. Sleeper doesn't have an RB2. Is there anybody else that doesn't have an RB2? No. So those are the only 2 guys with RB2s. So it'll be interesting to see where they end up lining up here. When these running backs are coming back around to them. Juju, a guy going here in the 6th round. I've got a Juju video coming up too. I absolutely love. I know I've been teasing it for a while. I've got to record it, but we've been working on some other stuff as well. Love Juju here. Say maybe DeRojo ends up taking Javonte Williams. Sleeper takes James Robinson as his RB2. Excuse me. What do we got here with Pool Party Poppy? So he ended up going running back, wide receiver, tight end. I like the start up until DJ Chark, because here is where I would have liked to go, because you can only start 2 running backs and 2 wide receivers. So to him, more than likely, probably what he's thinking is DJ Chark has enough upside that he can flex him in and out with other people, on a regular basis. With me personally in the flex, I like to get guys in the flex that I know are going to get volume. DJ Chark isn't really a volume wide receiver. He's going to be like a boom or bust type of guy. Like if I was going to go with somebody there, I would say Deontay Johnson would have been my bet there. If he would have went with Juju there, I would have gotten that as well. Again, not a lot of upside, but guys that are going to get peppered with targets over and over and over. As it comes back to me, we're going to have to go tight end now. And again, there's not really any tight ends here that I'm loving. I'd rather wait. I'm probably going to go with Big Bob Tonyan here as it comes back to me. Kind of the guy in this area that you could shoot for. Tyler Higbee is a guy that you could wait on. Logan Thomas going off the board there. Damian Harris going here to say maybe to Rojo. That would have been another pick for me. It had gotten back to the 8th round. I question whether or not Damian Harris is really the guy. Ramondre Stevenson, we heard, he's not going to be full go right now. Damian Harris, to me, though, isn't as good as what the numbers looked like last year. And you still have former first-round pick Sony Michel, and you brought back James White. Stevenson's going to be ready to go at some point in time. And this is a team that did spend a lot of money to bring in pass-catching options. So, if Cam is the starter to begin the season, he's going to be taking maybe some of those attempts away from Damian Harris. To me, it's just I don't really see Damian Harris being that great of an option this year. I wrote about him in the draft guide, though, so if you got the draft guide, make sure you check in there. Trey Sermon was another guy that I was really wanting for when he came back to me, but that didn't happen either. So like I said, Big Bob Tonyan's going to go here for me. And again, I'm not loving the team. I don't love it. But that's why we mock draft, right? That's why we mock draft. Jake talked about it in his mock draft video last week. It's not anything. I mean, do we take it serious? I mean, yeah, we take it serious, but I gotta try something else. You gotta do something else, right? Because again, if you just mock draft the same thing over and over and over and over, what happens? It gets to your actual draft and things go awry, and you can't get the guys that you wanted to. That becomes an issue. So this is a good chance for me to take a look at it and say, hey, what do I need to adjust? All right. So as we look at this team right now, and we talk about what do I need to adjust, right there, I know what I need to adjust. My third pick, if I go wide receiver, my third pick cannot be a quarterback. It cannot be a tight end. It has to be a running back. I know that now. Okay. And then if I go with one running back there, then I'm going to have to go with TJ Hawkinson. So if anything, I need to let the quarterback go and wait longer on the quarterback, which is fine. Because, I'm a guy that preaches late quarterback anyway. So I get that. So that would be fine for me. But now that I'm seeing this kind of play out, I know this is what I could be getting. I go with a Mike Davis or a DeAndre Swift here, and Darrell Henderson wraps back to me. If they don't sign anybody in the next couple of weeks and they go into the preseason with Darrell Henderson being the guy without bringing anyone in, this is going to be a dude that's going to jump up into at least the 3rd round. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to start going over like Carson, Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, not Antonio Gibson. That would be a little bit too much, but starts going over those guys. So anger management going really, really balanced here. Devontae Adams, T. Higgins, Curtis Samuels as wide receivers. I don't mind that at all. Again, like I said a few minutes ago, it's the Kareem Hunt pick at that point. If the Kareem Hunt pick would have been like Swift, I would have liked it a lot more. Let's see. Is there somebody that we haven't talked about yet? I feel like I've talked about almost everybody at this point. Happy Galladay, has Austin Eckler as his RB1, but Miles Sanders and David Johnson, a little bit of concern there. Miles Sanders is an RB2, isn't an awful pick. There are some concerns there. They brought in a lot of running backs. Jalen Hurts, is he really going to be a guy to kind of push it? Now it's back to me again. Running back wise, let's double check. We do have Ronald Jones here, Leonard Fournette, Kenyon Drake, A.J. Dillon, Nyheim Hines, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss. There's a couple of guys there that we can go with late. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and go with Ronald Jones. And again, I don't love it. I don't want any. I don't want any running back from Tampa Bay this year because they're going to straight split touches. But I need another running back because of how bad this situation is now, I have now forced myself into a position where I've got to get another running back or I'm not going to have enough depth later on. We are gonna want to get some more wide receivers, but again, there's some wide receivers coming up that are going to be really, really good values. Curtis Samuel is one that I just missed out on. With Ronald Jones here, if Curtis Samuel would have still been on the board, I probably would have went with Curtis Samuel instead. But we have OBJ, we have Will Fuller, Deebo Samuel's coming up as well. Devonta Smith is still out there. Who else do we got? I mean, you could go with Devontae Parker. He's still going to be there. You could go with Michael Pittman. Corey Davis is going to be there. The wide receiver one probably in New York for the Jets this year. Marvin Jones is going to be hanging around. Henry Ruggs, Darnell Mooney. So again, a lot of really good wide receivers coming up. You know, if you can get your wide receiver one. So if I would have started with, you know, running back, wide receiver, running back, or running back, wide receiver. If I had like Allen Robinson or Keenan Allen as my wide receiver one, Terry McLaurin, even if I would have one of those guys in my wide receiver one and really stack the front end of my draft with running backs, I'd be in a situation right now where I have all of these guys coming up at wide receiver that would make really, really good potential wide receiver 2 and 3s, because that is when you get creative with it. With my running backs, I want to be able to put my running backs in and just smash cement on the lineup. With the wide receivers, I'm a little bit more willing. You can go, hey, this is what we do, okay? We start Darnell Mooney in a really good matchup and we set this guy. We start this guy in a really good matchup and we set that. I mean, you can move guys in and out depending on the matchup. Running backs, you don't really do that as much with. You do with some of the lower end guys. It's much easier to do that with wide receivers, though. So let's see. So Irv Smith, Michael Pittman, Jerry Jeudy, Latavius Murray. Pool Party Poppy grabbing Latavius Murray as his RB3. Not a bad choice, especially with the news of Michael Thomas, but I'm still kind of waiting on that quarterback situation to play out in New Orleans right now. For me, now that Michael Thomas has gone down and is going to be out for a while, me personally, when I look at that situation, it feels more like Taysom Hill now, because this is not a team that's going to be able to survive just consistently throwing the ball if they don't have Michael Thomas. They're going to have to be different, and Taysom Hill is going to do that. And that's why I think Taysom Hill is going to end up being the guy now. If Taysom Hill is the guy, Latavius Murray becomes interesting at that point if they're trying to run the ball a little bit more than throw it. Latavius Murray is a guy that, we've said in the past, if you can grab him like as your wide receiver 4, that's great, because we know if something were to happen to Alvin Kamara, dude's going to step in right away. So let's see what Upside did here. So Upside, again, McCaffrey, Waller, Patty Mahomes, like at that point, instead of going Patty Mahomes, if you go J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, DeAndre, like those guys, if you go with those guys in that area, then at that point, now Upside team is looking really, really good. I'm really liking Upside's team there. And then when it gets back to the 6th round, then at that point, you're taking, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford. So for me personally, give me one of those quarterbacks over Patrick Mahomes. If you're telling me I'm going to get J.K. Dobbins, David Montgomery, DeAndre Swift, one of those guys, Myles Gaskin, Mike Davis, whatever, if I'm going to get one of those guys as my running back too. Leonard Fournette, so there's the other half of the backfield going off the Pool Party Poppy, probably saying, oh, we definitely got to get it off the board because Kyle's probably going to try and own 2 of them. But I got to go with wide receiver here. And the pick for me, if it gets to me, is going to end up being Devonta Smith, because I know Devonta Smith is going to get quite a bit of targets this year. Efficiency-wise, might not be the best year for him, but target-wise, the volume will be there because Philly's going to have to throw it. He can probably be that wide receiver 1A, 1B with Jalen Reagor. I haven't given up on Jalen Reagor. I know a lot of people have. He's just too good. And last year wasn't great, but he was injured. Wentz wasn't great. I mean, everything was just a mess last year for Philly. So I'm personally not going to hold it against him. Is it back? Not back to me yet. So we got one more pick, A.J. Dillon. So 9th round is going running back heavy again. So we're in the 9th round, and apparently it's going to go running back heavy again. Henry Ruggs, Darnell Mooney there for me too. I like both of those guys. And again, too, that's why I'm like, I wish I would have went running back early, because there's all these guys sitting here now that I really, really like. I can get Mooney and Ruggs with my next 2 picks. Easy. We're still waiting on Peasy. Is there anybody else like not doing great at running back right now? I know we're really talking about and really hammering home the running backs in this draft. Especially in a draft, Peasy just typed that he... So Peasy apparently lost connection, ends up going with a defense there. He did not want to do that. Let me see here. So Devonta Smith is here, so I'm going to go ahead and, yes, I'm going to go ahead and go with Devonta Smith now. And then as it comes back to me in the 10th round, I'll probably go with another running back at that point, or another wide receiver then at that point. And then what we'll do is we'll probably, I'll finish up the draft. I'll switch over to the draft board, continue our recording then, and then show you kind of how the rest of the draft played out. But for me, you know, going wide receiver, probably Henry Ruggs or Darnell Mooney is going to be the guy when it floats back over to me here. I could go with another tight end at this point if I wanted to. I mean, there isn't really a guy that, again, that I feel like grabbing right now. So, I mean, Tyler Higbee is a guy that I believe will end up lasting a couple of more rounds. And that's the guy that I would want to end up grabbing. Ryan Tannehill going this late, I mean, you got to love it. You got to love Ryan Tannehill going this late in the draft. Grab him. I mean, again, and this is why skipping on Kyler Murray, skipping on Patrick Mahomes, you know, those guys that early, you skip on them and you get a deal like Ryan Tannehill. Now, you're not my guy, Forbes. I don't know if he realizes that this is not super flex. We've done a couple of 2 QB leagues in the past few weeks or drafts, so I'm wondering if he still thought that. Which, again, ladies and gentlemen, hey, make sure you check your settings. Make sure you check your settings, because he's already got Dak. There's really no need to take another quarterback there. I would have skipped on quarterback. All right, so getting back to me here, going to come up in just a second. Let's see what happens here with TJ, and I've got Ruggs and Darnell Mooney kind of lined up next for my next pick. So I'm going to end up getting one of them, and it doesn't really matter to me who I get. I like both of them. Henry Ruggs, to me, has a little bit higher ceiling. Aaron Rodgers going in the 10th round, another just great value at the quarterback position. Another reason why I'm consistently telling people you can get a lot of value at quarterback, you can get a lot of value at wide receiver. You're not going to get it at running back. And you can see by this mess of a team I have right now why you're not going to be able to get it. But ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do, I'm going to finish up the draft. We'll flip over the screen, and then we'll get a chance to see how the rest of the draft played out for me. Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? Kyle here with the Fantasy Headliners. It's another mock draft Monday, and this was quite possibly my worst draft ever. Now, listen, when I decided to do this video this week, my whole goal was a 0 running back strategy. But even the strategy that I was going to implement was completely blown out of the water when tons of running backs went in the first 3 rounds, and I was going to be absolutely screwed and had to completely change what I was doing. This draft is not going to be good. So if you are watching this draft right now, watch this draft as something not to do instead of something to do. But hey, that's part of mock drafting, to make mistakes, to learn from them, and to understand where you could have changed things. And in this video, I did go through that and talked really a lot about what I could have done differently as I went through it and where I screwed up at. So I'm not looking for any grades in this draft. I give myself an F, 100%. You don't got to tell me. I'm telling myself, and I'm telling all of you. This Mock Draft Monday is all about my worst draft ever and what you shouldn't do come draft day.